my name's Caitlin Bandy, and this is my channel, Bandy's Books. We're in the kitchen again today because it is Thursday, time for another Bookish recipe. And I'm really excited about the recipe this week because I created it to go with my friend Abby's release of her new book. It's the first book in a trilogy called the Everhart Dean series, and that book is called Luminous. I reviewed it on my Instagram, so if you don't follow me on Instagram, definitely follow me over there at Bandy's Books so you can see the written review of it and many of the other books that I'm reading. But in particular, I was really excited about this book. It's a mix of fantasy, paranormal romance, all sorts of different aspects that make for a really great story. Basically, it is set in Turquoise Cove, Australia, and follows a young girl, she's about 18, named Everhart Dean. The family has relocated to Australia, and Everhart has decided she's just going to kind of keep a low profile and then eventually go back to the US for college. While she's there, she meets a guy named Sam. I think he's a lifeguard, if I remember correctly, and she is really attracted to him and his friends. They shower her with attention and gifts, and she, finds herself making friends. But then the paranormal aspects start mixing in. There's demons, there's angels, and a lot going on. It's a really interesting and compelling story. I really, really enjoyed it. And one of the things that I enjoyed the most about it is that Everhart loves to bake. And I am a chef, not a baker, but my guilty pleasure is baking. Even though I don't do like crazy fancy cakes and pies and things like that, I do love to do easy desserts at home. And so this book inspired me to create a recipe in honor of her new release. And I just want to show you first this gorgeous cover. I don't have a physical copy of it. I got an EARC of it, but this cover is just stunning. And it's even more stunning on the print book. It's just so vibrant and beautiful. And let me read you the quote that inspired this particular recipe. "Cake is my personal weakness. I love to bake. In fact, if there are two things I love most in the world, it's cake and books. There's nothing like the goodness of a molten chocolate cake or the perfectly sweet tang of a lemon cheesecake combined with that papery whisper of pages and the smell of printer's ink as you slip into another world. Heaven for a bookish loner. Not so good if you've got your sights on the Miss Palm Beach crown." So, I'm not the best cake baker, but I do love a lemon cheesecake. So I'm going to create a lemon cheesecake pie that's got the flavor of a cheesecake with that lemony goodness, but much, much simpler and much less tricky technical baking involved. I don't know about you, but every time I try to make a cheesecake, it bubbles up, it is uneven, it just never comes out that pretty. So this is a fail-proof lemon cheesecake pie in honor of my friend Abby's book, Luminous. I hope that you'll check it out. It's on Amazon, Kindle, and all those lovely places. And I hope you'll try the recipe to go with it. So let's go ahead and get started. In terms of the equipment that we're going to need a cutting board just very, very briefly. We're going to need a microplane to get some lemon zest, a whisk, a spatula, and then we're going to set up a double boiler. So a pot and a bowl that will sit comfortably on the pot unless you have an actual, professional double boiler. And in terms of the cooking ingredients, we need graham crackers, sugar. We have butter and cream cheese, white chocolate, eggs, and lemons. We're going to need both the zest and the juice. And then we're also going to need a Ziploc bag, preferably like a larger size. We're going to start this recipe by doing the lemon curd first. So the reason that we want to start with this is because the lemon curd is going to take some time to cool and set, so we want to give it adequate time. To make the lemon curd, we're going to separate the egg yolks from the whites. If you like to eat the whites by themselves, you could save this for some sort of a breakfast thing in the morning, maybe like an egg white omelet, or whip it into some regular eggs, to give it a little bit of flavor. So I usually just use the shell to separate the yolks from the whites. Okay. We're going to get 4 of these. Careful not to catch the yolk on the edge of the shell or else they break. There we go. There's our 4 yolks. We're gonna set the whites to the side because we don't need them today. All right, with our 4 egg yolks, we're gonna do 2/3 a cup of sugar, granulated sugar. 1, 2, and then we're gonna zest some lemon zest into it. So remember when you're zesting your lemons to just barely zest them. Like, you don't want to keep going over the same spot over and over again, because then you end up with the white part, which is called the pith, and it's really bitter and it does not taste good. Most of the time when I hear people say that they don't like zest in their food, it's because they've had something that was zested too far and had that bitter residual taste. So we're going to zest in 2 lemons. And then don't stress, because we're going to juice these 2 lemons afterwards. This is going to give us a really nice, bright flavored lemon curd. And just in case you're curious, you can actually make curds of other flavors. You could do lime, you could do orange. And if you wanted to do, like, say, pineapple or guava or mango, you could just use a juice with that flavor. I've done that before. So we're going to set that to the side. We're going to go ahead and slice our lemons open. Okay, so we want about 1/3 a cup of lemon juice. And you want to do this like right when you're getting ready to cook this, because the lemon, if you leave it with the eggs for too long, will actually start to scramble the eggs. Do not want that, so don't leave this sitting around long term. And while we're getting this ready, I have this pot of water over here that's going to be coming up to a boil. We're going to be putting this on a double boiler, so you want to have that water hot and ready right when you have this mixture ready. Okay. There's our lemon juice. All right, and we're going to add 6 tablespoons of butter. This is unsalted butter here. So a normal bar of butter has 8 tablespoons, so we're just going to take about 2 tablespoons off. And I want to go ahead and just dice this into smaller pieces. Like so. Alright, so now that we have everything we need in this mixture, we're going to be going to the double boiler. Real quick, I'm just going to mix this up to incorporate everything. And some recipes will be a little bit different. There's a couple different methods for doing this. Some recipes will have you put butter in at the very end of making the curd, so you'll like cook the eggs with the lemon juice and everything till it thickens, and then once it's thick, you'll whip the butter in. But I had a chef teach me how to do it this way a long time ago. And basically you just put the cold butter in with the eggs and the lemon and everything. And then as the lemon and the eggs start to thicken, the butter melts into it. So basically, like right when the butter gets to the temperature that it's gonna start melting is when you really have to start whisking vigorously, because that's the point when the eggs are gonna start cooking. So as you make this curd, you need to stir pretty continuously. You don't want to leave this to sit and walk away, because then you'll end up with scrambled lemon flavored eggs, and nobody likes that. So we're just going to sit here and whisk away. Whisk away. And this is going to take probably about 10 minutes usually. It's just going to be, it's going to be a kind of a quick thing. So I know that 10 minutes doesn't sound quick, but like the thickening process happens quick. So you'll be sitting here stirring this, I'm going, man, this doesn't feel like it's thickening. It's staying really liquidy. The butter's not melting. And then all of a sudden the butter will start to melt, and within seconds it'll thicken up. So don't walk away. Don't stop stirring. Just be patient with it. Maybe have a glass of champagne or something while you're sitting here, you know, waiting for this to cook. I say champagne just because it goes well with the citrus, you know. I prefer red wine, honestly, but if you're gonna have something nice and citrusy, maybe something a little crispy sweet. Anyways, whatever you choose to enjoy, just sit here and be patient with it and continue to stir it. You don't have to stir it like super fast or anything. Just keep it moving. As you can see, there's a little bit of steam coming up on the sides. Our bowl is starting to get a little bit warm. So we've been cooking our lemon curd here for about 10 minutes, and it's just getting to the point where it's starting to thicken. So just want it to go a little tiny bit further. We don't want this to scramble, so you definitely, when it starts to thicken up, have to keep it moving, or else you can end up with scrambled lemon eggs instead of lemon curd. We just want it to get slightly thicker than this. So stir vigorously. You'll notice it when it starts to like stick to the sides instead of just like drip. You can use a spatula, test it like that, and see that it's starting to adhere to the spatula a bit. That's where we're going for. And go just a little longer. And of course, be careful while you're doing this. If you're like me, where your pots have little divots on the side, then you know you can burn your hand by accident. So just be really careful. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off. So this is right where we want it, nice and thick. And we're gonna take this really, really quickly. So we're gonna strain this through a strainer into a bowl with ice. We wanna cool this down rapidly, because if we don't cool this rapidly, we end up with scrambled eggs. So we just scrape, this is all the zest that we had in there. So don't be alarmed if you see that little bit of chunky. Don't forget that we have the zest. So this is good. You don't see really any scrambled egg in there. I'm gonna just take off that. So this is our lemon curd, and it will continue to thicken as it cools down. You want to stir it initially while it's cooling. Just to keep it from scrambling. As you can see, it's starting to thicken up. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit here and cool. And we're gonna go ahead and start the next part of our cheesecake pie. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and start our pie crust while our lemon curd is cooling. It's a very simple graham cracker crust. We're gonna put a little bit of butter in a cup and we're gonna melt it real quick, or you could do it in a saucepan if you don't have a microwave. Much. Melt this down. While that's melting, we're going to go ahead and crush up some of our graham crackers. So we use about a package. And that's what our handy ziplock bag is for. I'm going to take these graham crackers. These specific graham crackers are cinnamon crackers, but you can use just plain graham crackers as well. Add them into our ziplock bag. If you had a rolling pin, you could just roll back and forth over these. I do not have a rolling pin, so we're gonna do this manually. I want to take some of the air out of the bag now. Since I don't have a rolling pin, I'm gonna get a little creative. Just use, I have a metal coffee cup, so I'm gonna roll that along. We have our crushed up graham crackers. We're going to go ahead and pour these into our bowl. And then we're going to add just a tiny bit of white sugar. Mostly just to taste, really. Like, you can make this as sweet or as not sweet as you like. Just remember that your cheesecake base is going to be sweet, so you don't want it to be like overly sweet. And I'm using cinnamon graham crackers, so they already have a little bit of a cinnamon flavor, but if they didn't, I'd suggest maybe just a pinch of cinnamon. And we're going to drizzle in butter just until this combines. You want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning, because we're going to bake this crust a little bit. This is the only thing in this dish that's going to bake. The cheesecake filling and the lemon filling are not going to be baked at all. So we're just going to mix this together, set our pie in the container, and then we're going to bake it for just a couple minutes until it sets. And once it's set, that's it for the oven for the day. So basically just want that texture where it kind of holds together a little bit. Let's move this around a little bit more. Oh, this smells good. Kind of reminds me of like a campfire. Graham cracker smell. All right, so now we're gonna take our pie tin and we're just gonna spread in a very thin layer of the graham cracker crust. I always make the base part first and then I start pressing out the sides. I find that to be the easiest. Alright, so there is our pie base. We're going to go ahead and pop this in the oven. It's going to toast for about maybe 5 to 10 minutes and then we'll let it cool. So we're going to go ahead and start making the filling while our pie shell browns out a little bit. We're going to melt the white chocolate first. So there's a couple different methods to melting chocolate, and it's going to depend on the quality of the chocolate that you're using as well. I'm going to just go ahead and do this in the microwave, and this is one of those things that if you do it right, it's okay, but it can go bad fast if you do it wrong. When you melt chocolate, especially white chocolate, you want to do it in really small increments and you want to make sure that you're stirring it. So I do it in like a minute to start, stir, and then 30-second increments continuously until it's liquefied. If you put this in there for say 4 minutes and try to melt it down, it's going to curdle and burn and it's not going to melt or be pretty. You could also do this in a double boiler. So just like we did the lemon curd over a pot of boiling water, you could put the white chocolate into a bowl and sit here and whisk it while it melts down. I'm okay with it being in the microwave. Just remember, small increments and stir. Even if it looks like it's not melting yet, move it around. So we're gonna take our Ghirardelli chocolate here. We have a 4-ounce bar. And we're gonna just snap this into pieces. There's our white chocolate. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in. We're gonna start this with 1 minute. So you can see it's starting to melt. You want to make sure, like I said, that you stir it around. In fact, I don't think I'm even actually going to put it back in. There is some chunks, but I think it's warm enough that if I just keep stirring it, the chunks are going to melt down. And that's how you get a nice glossy chocolate from microwave. Just want to make sure you keep moving it around periodically. All right, so let's get our filling started. We're going to come over here to the mixer. We're going to be using a whip attachment today. We're going to use our bar of cream cheese. Now, you may wonder why we're using regular cream cheese instead of like a whipped fluffy cream cheese. We're going to whip this till it is fluffy, believe me. And I like it better for texture. No additives or anything, just plain cream cheese. Okay, so we're going to pop our bar of cream cheese in to our mixer. And we're going to start whipping it on high speed. Want this to get nice and soft and fluffy. So now that our cream cheese is whipped up a bit, we're going to mix our white chocolate, which is still warm and liquidy, into the cream cheese. Make sure you use your spatula well. If you use a spatula properly, there should be hardly anything left. Look at that, it's almost a clean bowl. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and whip that in. We're gonna scrape down the sides really quick because some of the cream cheese tends to stick. Okay. And then whip again. There we go. That's what we want. So our lemon curd, which has been cooling, is all nice and thick and set now. That is perfect. And it's nice and bright yellow. So what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna take like a third of this and mix it into the cream cheese filling to give it that lemon cheesecake flavor. And then we're gonna leave 2/3 of this to put over the top of the pie when it's finished. So we're just gonna pour a little bit of this in to our cream cheese mixture. And we're gonna save that for later. Adding the white chocolate and the lemon, I suggest tasting your cheesecake batter and seeing if it's the right level of sweetness for you. Everybody has a different taste. So if it's not sweet enough, you can add just a tiny bit of sugar, which I will be doing. Adding just a tiny bit, maybe like a tablespoon. Keep in mind that this is gonna have more lemon curd over the top. It's gonna have the graham cracker base. All of those things have sweetness to them. So you don't want this to be like oozingly sweet. You just want it to be like a balanced sweet. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pull our crust out, if I can get it. So this is all we're looking for, is for this to have set. You can see that the edges are brown, feels dry, it's not soggy or anything like that. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that out, and we're gonna let this cool down for a minute. That's it for the oven. We're gonna go ahead and assemble our pie. Our pie crust is nice and cool now, and you can see it's nice and intact. The butter kind of solidified it all together, so that's good. We're gonna take some of our cheesecake filling and scoop it in. Just kind of spread this around. You don't want to overfill this because we want to have some room for the lemon curd that's gonna go on top. So that's why I didn't put all of it in immediately. We're just gonna do a little bit by little bit. And you could make this in a 9-inch pie shell instead. I'm using an 8-inch pie shell just because there's only 2 of us here. But this recipe actually will fit a 9-inch pie shell. So you just want to make a nice, smooth layer of our cheesecake. And then we saved that beautiful lemon curd. This has been cooled down now and it's like nice and beautiful and thick. I love that bright yellow color. It's so pretty. So we're just going to go ahead and pour that all over the top. Same thing, we're just gonna spread this around. And if you make this and you have a little bit of this lemon curd left over, you can save it to put on scones, muffins, piece of bread. It is like an excellent thing for like a breakfast item. Okay. You just spread that around so it's nice and even. Okay, and then we're gonna take this, we're gonna put it into the fridge, let it set for maybe 5 to 10 minutes so it's nice and firm before we cut a piece and give it a try. Right, so that's our pie or lemon cheesecake pie recipe. Again, that comes from Luminous by Abby Kingston. You can find this on Amazon. There are also printed copies which you can order, and I highly recommend it. The book is just so pretty. Cover design is just stunning. This recipe was inspired by Everhart Dean's love for baking and cakes. She lists specifically chocolate molten cake and lemon cheesecake as 2 of her favorites. Lemon cheesecake is a little fancy for me to be cooking since I'm not a whiz at baking, but this lemon cheesecake pie is super accessible and easy to do at home. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a bite and see how it tastes. It tastes like a summer barbecue. That's what it reminds me of. Like, this is the perfect dish to go, like, at the end of a summer barbecue. You've had ribs and potato salad and coleslaw and all that. And then this is like just bright and fluffy. Oh, it's so good. Just the right amount of sweet too. You've got the creaminess of the cheesecake, the acidity of the lemon, the crunchiness from the graham crackers. That hits the spot. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that there so I can finish my piece of pie. And my partner Oz, who is recording this video, is anxiously awaiting his piece of pie too. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. Comment down below, let me know if you'll try this recipe or if you'll be checking out Abby's book, Luminous, which is the first of the Everhart Dean series. Thank you again for watching this video. I'm Caitlin Bandy. This is Bandy's Books, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Very good. I'm glad that it's not that sweet.
Has it got a good lemon flavor?
Yep. And it's not too sweet.
No.
That's perfect.
How do you like the crust?
It is very good. I prefer the kind of creamy thing in the middle.
Does it taste like cheesecake?
Yeah. It's It's not that strong as the you can get at the store or at the restaurant, which is very good for me.
Okay. There you heard it. Boyfriend
get married.
approved.